People are still fearful of battery swaps? What? And could partnerships be bad for NIO? Guys, here what we got is, of course, the Envol sub-brand car, Envol L60, doing a battery swap at a NIO Gen 3 swap station. Absolutely fantastic. Here's that clip. Wow, wow, wow. And it swaps just like NIO. Very, very good. And of course, this has been shared on social media here in China, also within the NIO app as well. Interestingly enough, the person that posted this video said, oh my God, now I have to line up and, fight for batteries with the Envol sub-brand car. So that's what they said. But of course, it was half jokingly, but half serious. And it does present a very interesting question. And we'll come back to this in a bit. But first of all, what's very, very critical is the fact that some people, even NIO owners, are still very fearful of battery swap. Let me fully explain this. So here is a video of a fellow NIO owner going to a swap station, and he saw another ES8 charging instead of swapping. So he asked the ES8 owner, why are you charging and not swapping? And the ES8 owner said, oh, I'm worried about swapping into a degraded battery or a battery that's not as fresh as mine because my battery is a new battery. And they're worried about that, so they're charging. And when asked about how long he's had his car for 6 months. And he's worried about swapping into a bad battery. And to be honest, this is a fear that everybody has, all right? It's sort of like losing your V card. Yeah. The first time is always like the most fearful time, all right? And even for me, I did not do battery swaps until like 2-3 months into ownership of my NIO, of this car, for the same reasons, all right? I was a bit worried about, swapping into degraded battery and that kind of stuff. But looking at it now, that was completely stupid. People just got to get over this, right? You just got to do it once, and then you'll feel comfortable doing it many, many times. And so that's why there's only two types of people: people that have not experienced battery swap, and people who love battery swap. All right, that just means that once you get over this hill and you've experienced battery swap and just how convenient it is, all right, and even battery degradation, there's nothing to worry about, okay, in terms of this battery degradation problem. People worrying about swapping into a degraded battery. I was part of that as well. I was worried about that. But in theory, all the batteries inside of the NIO swap stations have at least 93% battery health. All right, so it's fairly healthy. And even those that are not healthy, maybe it dropped to 92%, what NIO does is they take the battery pack apart, they find the module that is degraded or broken, they take that out and then change it with a fresh module. So, the battery pack always has a very good battery health. In fact, it's definitely going to be more healthy than just driving it for a very long time. So if I had my car for 3 years without swapping, my battery would be more degraded than the battery inside those swap stations. The swap station batteries will be way better than the batteries that I have. And even so, there's nothing to worry about. There's only rare cases where you actually have to buy back the battery. Cases, for example, if you purposefully crash the car and damage the battery and the battery is not yours, it's under BAS and you rented the battery, then you might potentially have to buy back the battery. But in no normal circumstance do NIO owners have to after 5 or 6 years, like some of the Ioniq 5s or Tesla Model 3s, Model Ys, after a couple of years, the battery goes bad, they got to buy a new one. That is not going to ever happen to a NIO vehicle, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. But people are still very fearful, and this really reflects that we are still at an early stage in terms of battery swap. We are still not there yet. Mentally, all right? Mentally, people are still not there yet. The acceptance, all right, even with NIO owners, okay? These guys, they chose to buy a NIO. They love the car. and they vote for a NIO with their own money. They bought a NIO, but they're still scared about doing a battery swap. It's a hill that everybody has to eventually climb over. And this hill is also something that means, we're just still not there yet. We're still not there at the point where everybody accepts battery swap. All right. We're not at the point where everybody is like, this is the best thing ever. People that have experienced battery swap, all right, have done battery swap, think that this is the best thing ever. All right, with all those benefits. But people that have not experienced battery swap in their actual lives, they do not know what it's like. All right, they do not know what it's like. So there's that fear. There's that constant fear. And that's what's really, really something that NIO needs to overcome, and everybody needs to overcome in order for mass adoption of battery swap. Okay, so definitely there's people that believe in it. Some people don't care. All right, but there is that genuine fear, the first time fear. It's called the first timer fear. All right, losing the V card fear. And once people get over it, it's going to get better. Now, what about the other thing that we talked about? Envo cars and NIO cars competing for battery swaps at Gen 3 and even Gen 4, future Gen 4 swap stations. Look, it's possible that it's going to happen, but Gen 2 swap stations and Gen 1 swap stations are still exclusive to NIO. And if you think about it from an investor's perspective, all right, this is fantastic. That means Envo from the get-go has 900 volt architecture, just very good product, beautiful car, and very affordable price, and already has access to all these swap stations. And that's just going to make that car so competitive compared to its competition. Okay. On the flip side, yes, sometimes there will be cases where a NIO has to, line up behind an Envo or vice versa. Might have to, wait a bit more for the swaps. But NIO's head of NIO Power, all right, said that the more Envo cars there are, the more swap stations there will be, and that's gonna just make things much better. So if this one swap station always has a lineup, and Envo cars and NIO cars are always lined up for battery swap there, then NIO is probably most likely going to build another swap station nearby or within the vicinity in the area, just to cover this demand. So the more cars, the more swap stations. Congestion, these lineups, these are very temporary. Yes, you might see them at the start, but they're going to build more swap stations to alleviate this. So there's nothing really to worry about. From a product standpoint, I think Envo cars will be fantastic. Envo cars will sell really well. Definitely going to sell more than NIO, 100%. All right, yeah, they finally figured it out. I want to say they finally figured it out. Good product, good price, battery swap, and good features. Yeah, it's going to sell well.